Hello HEMA friends and welcome to this new video. Today we are going to talk about sword grip. So today I want to deliver you this very short video about gripping the sword, which covers an important topic, I will say, because you keep asking me about this topic on Instagram messages, in the comment section of YouTube, whatever. It keeps happening that you ask me about thumb grip, like a German grip, or the handshake grip, whatever. So what is the best one, or what are the advantages of one grip compared to the other, etc., etc., etc. Now, it is important to say that gripping the sword in one way or the other has some kind of advantages. Now, I will show you a couple of them. If I am thrusting at my opponent and I am in a thumb grip, you will notice that I can extend my arms in this way and keep my arm behind my sword far more, while opposing also, far more compared to if I am thrusting with an handshake grip, in which I am creating this kind of huge angle between my main arm and the sword. Now, this is very useful because the lesser angle you have between right arm, main arm, and your sword, the harder it is for the opponent to parry your action. It is also easier to oppose on the other side when I am thumbing the blade compared to keeping my handshake grip, which again creates this huge angle and makes my action easier to parry. Again, we have other differences on cutting, for example. It is easier to deliver fendenti and false edge sottani when I am using my handshake grip, because we are basically on this line naturally with our hand. Instead, it is easier to deliver horizontal cuts when we are thumbing the flat of our blade. And of course, our thumb grip gives us access to other mechanics which are hard or impossible to land with our handshake grip, such as false edge cuts from above or the famous Zwerchhau, which are unlocked by this kind of position. But there is an important thing to say. Actually, there is not so much difference from one position and the other. Actually, when I am fencing, I am not actually thinking in which kind of way I put my hands. Of course, I have quite a lot of experience handling my sword, and so it is easier for me to say, you don't have to think about which kind of specific way you are handling your sword. But at the same time, it is the truth. And I would suggest you to start focusing lesser about which kind of grip is better for what kind of action, and instead try to follow your necessities. So understand which kind of hand position it is better in every single situation. Not because some kind of manual says it, but simply because you actually feel it. So, for example, no one ever told me that landing mezzani is better with a thumb grip, actually. Fiore doesn't actually tell anything about gripping the sword, nothing. But if I give a look to how I feel comfortable in landing this kind of actions, I notice that I have a better reach and a better angle if I keep my thumb on the flat while landing this specific cut. Instead, when I am delivering a fendente, it is far better if I deliver it with a handshake grip. And so this is what I am trying to do every time I try to land one action or the other. I don't keep a fixed position of my hand on the handle. So, of course, the main quality that you need to develop such kind of skill, as I mentioned before, is experience. But when you have already 6 months or 1 year of experience handling your sword, moving the sword around a little bit, between sparring, pair drills, solo drills, whatever, you already have enough experience to start thinking about this kind of quality. So, you need to develop a couple of abilities to be able to having always the correct grip for the correct situation. The first one is being able to keep your hand slightly more relaxed around your handle. So you don't have to grip your sword in a tight way all the time when you are moving your sword around. This is the crucial skill that you need to develop first to be able to do such kind of thing. So being able to change your grip depending from which kind of action you're landing. So to develop this kind of first, let's say, main skill of keeping your hand a little bit more loose on the handle, you just have to play around a little bit with solo drills, etc. and try to focus on keeping your hands relaxed when you are not crossing the line of the opponent. So imagine that every time you cross the line, in which basically every situation in which you can impact with the opponent blade or the opponent himself, you try to tighten a little bit your grip. Then you lose it again, then you tighten it a bit, then you lose it again, etc., etc. This is something that you can try out with every single drill and with also every single action. You can do it by thrusting. Here I am a little bit more tight with my grip, then I lose it, then tight again, etc., etc. So this is the main skill that you need to learn. The second skill that you need to develop is being able to rotate your sword in your hand. So of course it is easier said than done, because now I am doing it without gloves, of course, but it is also possible to do with your gloves, and especially if you're doing it with two hands. Now, the important skill that you need to develop in this kind of situation are first being able to rotate your handle with the fingers, basically, of your main hand. You just need to rotate it a little bit. It's enough, right? Then there is the extension of the arm, which helps putting the sword on the correct line. Then you have to learn how to use the second hand, also the secondary hand, to rotate the sword on its axis again. So again, you can do it with the main hand a little bit, then you can complete it with the second hand, just by moving it a little bit. And this is the other skill that you need to learn. The secondary hand is not only there because of sin, you can also use it to handle your sword in a better way. So by using this hand together, you can rotate your sword as much as you want, depending from the situation. So to develop these couple of skills, you simply have to do these couple of simple exercises, which you have just seen. So the first one is you keep your sword only with the main hand on the longer position, on the langot position, whatever, and you try to rotate with your fingers your sword from, let's say, thumb grip, more or less, to handshake grip. This is the main skill. Then you try out with the other hand, the secondary hand. You keep your main hand relaxed. It is just there to keep the sword on its place. And you grip the sword with the second hand. Then you move slightly the second hand from one side to the other. You just rotate by 25 degrees, 30 degrees, whatever. It's more than enough. That's the movement that usually the secondary hand does while trying to rotate your handle when it is necessary. So this hand anyway does a far less important job, of course, than the main hand. These two movements added to one another are the movements which help you rotate the sword in the position that you need when you need it. So to switch from one grip to another. It is, funny enough, easier to do such kind of thing while rotating the sword around, so by cutting, paring, whatever, compared to keeping the sword online and just doing this kind of thing, which is kind of weird and rarely happens. It's just for training purposes. But once you have learned these couple of simple skills, so being able to keep your hands a little bit more loose, a little bit more relaxed, then rotating the sword around with the hand that it is necessary in that specific moment, then you start to do it by itself while moving the sword around. So for example, I can land a thrust with my thumb grip, then I can deliver a reverso fendente and I enter in my handshake grip. Then if I want to, for example, land a threshold on the other side, a right one, I can change, and then I enter in my thumb grip again. So I keep doing it, also inspiring, one time after the other. And at the beginning, of course, it wasn't easy at all. You have to train it, you have to make a lot of errors, you have to land a lot of flat actions, because this is what happens when you are doing it the wrong way or you are not doing it. And then you start to do it bit by bit, and then you have more successes than errors, etc., etc. So I will suggest you to try out this couple of little exercises and try to develop these couple of little skills while drilling or sparring or whatever, because you will see that will help you a lot. And also try out to avoid thinking too much about which kind of grip you are using in which kind of situation, or try to keep your grip as tight as possible to be sure that you are in that specific position with your hands. It is not as important as you think. Actually is sometimes kind of detrimental, because you end up landing flat hits simply because of this thing, because you are too focused on gripping the sword in the proper way or whatever. Instead, keep your hands loose, be more relaxed, and deliver the actions that you need with the grip that you need. So I made this video to answer a lot of questions which you keep asking me. Are you using the thumb grip in fencing? Because you are seeing it in my sparring videos. Was Fiore using the thumb grip? Or also people think that you should not use the thumb grip because you are doing Italian fencing and it is only described in German fencing, as it is like some kind of specific skill, like rotating the sword from here to here, right? But the reality is that I do not use any kind of grip or specific grip. I just follow the needs. I move the sword around as I need, depending from which kind of action I have to deliver. And I suppose that this was what people did back in the days. So what experienced fencers did. They were trying to land the action in the best way possible to obtain the best result as possible. And this also involved using the proper grip at the proper time, moving the sword around. So not keeping your hand dead, as also Musashi said in the Book of Firings. So I hope this video will be useful for you. If you are not able to do such kind of things, so changing your grip during the fight, I will suggest you to try out this couple of little exercises which I've shown you. And well, that's it. Thanks for watching as always, people. And remember that if you want to support me and the channel, you can just check my Patreon page, link in the description. And well, as always, see you next time.